Good day, good day. So I'm doing some live feeds here, not from the desk, and kind of walking around so I could actually be able to reply to any comments, because that's one of the disadvantages of the way I've been setting up right now in the past, or just more recently, is actually sitting down at my desk and be able to have a high definition camera and really be able to get some really good content to you guys. But what ends up happening is that I can't see the comments. So I wanted to jump on today and just talk real quickly about what happens when you're actually hypercritical of yourself. And so if you find yourself that you sit there and think about all the things you didn't get done that were on your to-do list, or the way you should have said something differently in another way, or getting upset with yourself for just not having everything you want. Some people, you could be actually getting upset with yourself for not being happy, right? That's actually a common epidemic that we have as human beings right now, is we expect that we should be happy all the time, and then we beat ourselves up for not being happy. Like we can get so hypercritical of ourselves. And I've actually definitely have gone down that path, and I wrestled with it for a really long time, and I'm still like coming out of it. I still have found lots of tools to help me to criticize myself less. But what actually is happening is when we start criticizing ourselves and we get hypercritical, we are actually creating more criticism from ourselves in the world. So to understand this, what helps me is to think about two pieces, well, a couple different pieces, but one, to start off, really important is looking at the fact that we have two kind of roles of what we are. We are the physical thing that we are, like the body that we go around in, right? The physical, we can see that. And if we want to change our physique, we can change the way we eat. We can change what we drink. We can change the activities we do. We can exercise more or less. Either way, you can change yourself physically. And it's really easy to see how to work and do that in the physical world. But we weren't really taught tools on how to actually change the other part of us, which is that spiritual part of us, the invisible part of us. And some people aren't spiritual, and that's fine. But if you have thoughts and you believe thoughts are real, then guess what? There's that spiritual side for you. So what we have to do is actually work on cleaning up that invisible part of our house. And that's something that we're not taught to do. We don't have that many programs available to us. I mean, we can read, we can watch videos like this, you can do personal development programs, but it's not in our everyday lives. And it's not like completely advertised for like a lot of the things that change us on the outside in what we do, right? Like our food, you see advertised everywhere. The venues that we go to, beer, like all that stuff's advertised all the time. So you get that in your face all the time, and you kind of think that that's like what you're supposed to do because you're getting attention constantly pushed to you. But we don't get good vibes all the time. We don't get the good self-talk. We don't get good talk from other people. So the real thing to consider is that when you talk to somebody else, every single word that they say to you is just words. They're just saying words to you. And it's actually us that give the actual meaning to the words that they're saying. So if you're hypercritical to yourself, or let's say I'm hypercritical, right? And I'm like beating myself up. I got all this stuff I want to do, and I'm not getting it done. And I feel like that my to-do list is just getting longer or overwhelmed. And then I sit there and beat myself up for it. And this is something, this is a real thing that I tend to do, is like look at this big list and it paralyzes me, and then it makes me not want to do anything, right? It makes me want to just like sit back and be like, I can't do any more, because the more that I do, then there's more that I have to do. And if this is resonating with you, like this or something, let me know, or write some comments if this is happening for you. So how we actually perceive what other people say to us is going to be a direct reflection of what we're saying to ourselves in our heads. So if you find yourself getting upset by what other people are saying about you, it's actually because you're saying this stuff about yourself in some way. It's not like apples to apples, it's not word to word, but there's something actually my wife taught me that she learned a long time ago, and it was that she was in a relationship that was pretty intensely bad, and the person was pretty verbally abusive, and somebody said to her, you won't leave this person until they start saying things to you that are worse than what you say to yourself. right? So if you really think about that for a second, if you think about all the relationships that you have, you will only put up with and tolerate somebody treating you poorly if you treat yourself poorly. Otherwise, you aren't going to be around that person. And you'll actually allow that person's words, whatever they say, you're going to actually look for evidence to prove that you are not good enough in some way, shape, or form, or that they're coming down on you. They might have the best of intentions. They might actually really be trying to help you. And then you're going to receive it as if, guess what? They're being critical of you, because you see through a lens where you're looking for evidence to support the self-talk that you actually have going in your own head. So if you're with me here, write something. Jane, thank you for stepping up and being the first one to say, hey, I feel the same way, because this is an epidemic in our society. This is like, I think like 9 out of 10 people I talk to talk about feeling like they are like always criticizing themselves. And it's one thing to like analyze what you did and like reflect and think about, wow, I could have done that better. But it's another thing to actually sit there and spend the time to criticize yourself. So, and actually constantly be doing it. And a lot of us do this, and I did it for a really long time, and I still have moments where I get there. But where I would actually just, every single thing I did, I would sit there and judge myself like the biggest asshole I could possibly be, like so mean to myself. And then when other people would say things to me, I would take it so to heart and so personally, and it would actually capture my emotion that I already had and make it larger, versus not giving a shit about what somebody else says about me. Right? And that's like the place that we all need to be. And I know that each and every one of you has felt that moment where somebody says some dirty thing about you and you're like, I don't care what they say, like they're insane, or I don't like them anyway, like they're whatever reason, you can discount it and like it has no meaning, like a crazy person on the street spouts out some kind of Tourette's thing. You don't take it personally, right? Or maybe you do. Maybe if you're in that place where somebody you don't even know comes at you with some crazy stuff and then you take it personally, then you really, really have to just pause for a second and just think about giving yourself a little bit of grace. Because your entire self-esteem is going to actually change the way you interpret reality. How much you love yourself and appreciate yourself for all the things that you do well is going to actually be the key to actually having other people recognize your light too and what's great about you. So that's like a key piece in this. Like if we expect other people to criticize us because we're criticizing ourselves, then we're going to find that evidence and prove it. But if we expect people to think great things about us, then guess what? You're going to actually find that. So what actually happens, and you've probably actually been on both sides of this, right? So you've been on the reception side where somebody says something vile to you, and then it gets you all riled up inside and makes you feel bad, right? And if you're with me on this, just like give me a like, or give me a comment, or heart, or angry face, I don't care. Just let me know that you're following what I'm saying here. So if you get to that person that's giving you some kind of vile information, thank you, Jane, and thank you, Alex. Hey, Kathy, my mother-in-law's on. Hey, so nice of you to be here. So if you're in that space where you're actually receiving that and it triggers you, guess what? You've also been on the other side of that, right? Where you've actually said something to somebody, and you might have actually been saying something to totally build them up, and then they take it and they get offended. It really has nothing to do with what you said. There is nothing you could have said that would be right. It's not what you said or how you said it. It's actually what's going on with them. So it's a key to actually improve your relationship. So when you say something to somebody and they get all offended, you could sit there and push what you're trying to say on them, but that's going to make them only more resistant to it. If you actually stop and hear that they are not even ready to hear the help that you're trying to give, that they just need to be heard, that they just need you to just listen to what they're saying and say, I know how you're feeling, and help them feel like they're not alone. And that's what usually happens. And then you've probably also been with somebody where you might have actually been giving them criticism, and guess what happened? It bounced right off of them, and they went about their day like it never even happened, and you were like, how does that happen? Like, how's that person, like, they're so egoic? And sometimes they are egoic, and sometimes people are full of themselves, and they use people and play games like that. But that's not what I'm talking about. When I talk about being, like, selfish to the point where you love yourself, it's actually just really understanding yourself. It becomes selfish when you depend on somebody else for your happiness, when you depend on somebody else to support you, that's when it actually becomes selfish. When you actually are completely full inside and you're happy inside, which is not a place you have to go, it's a way you have to be. It's a way you have to like learn to just practice to be happy and let the BS go, right? And just not even worry about what other people are saying. But it really starts in actually cleaning up your own thoughts. So if you find that you're actually criticizing yourself because you're not working fast enough, or you don't have enough friends, or you can't find a partner, or you're not good in bed, or whatever it is, if you find yourself criticizing yourself, guess what's going to happen? It's going to manifest in your reality. So it's really important to take a pause. And when you criticize yourself, say, hey, why am I actually doing this? Am I doing this as a way to reflect and have constructive feedback so that I can improve the way I articulate myself, or I can be a better friend, or I can be a better lover, or whatever it is? Or are you doing it to prove that you're no good? And that's what most people do. So I don't know if that happens for you, but if it does, and it's not like you intend to make yourself feel bad, but it's just a pattern that we have, because when we were growing up, in the times that we were growing up, nobody knew about this information. Well, some people did, but very, very few. And even now, very, very small percentage of people know about this information. So we got trained to behave in the way that our parents taught us to behave. The way we watched our parents, our teachers, any of the authority figures, any mentor, any role model. And that's why being a role model is so important, that you got to walk the walk all the time. And when you're not walking the walk, you got to be honest about it and say, man, I'm out of integrity here because I am not loving myself. And if I don't love myself, I can't love you. And that's really what it comes down to. So I had a couple little notes here. I just want to make sure that I touch on them. So if you have any questions, right now is like the perfect time to look at them. If this is resonating with you, or you think somebody else needs to hear this, tag them, share this on your wall. Please, this is the perfect time to do it. I'm just gonna look at these last few things. So I think the biggest thing is really looking at the meanings that we give to things that happen in our lives. I'm losing papers. It's windy out here, but it is a beautiful day. So when we actually give meaning to what other people are saying, it's just, that's our meaning that we're giving to it. When we give meaning to something that happens, that's the meaning we give to it, but it's actually not the same thing as what happens, right? So we can actually choose what it means. Somebody could be really mean to you, and you can choose that they're trying to hurt you, or you could choose to believe that they're hurting inside, or you could just be like, whoa, like this doesn't even like resonate with me. This is not going to affect me at all. So that's your choice on how you want to perceive that. But it really all starts with analyzing what you're doing with your own conversations in your own head. And that's something that we're not taught to do in modern day society. So, I got plenty of videos on how to techniques how to do that. So I'm not going to go into that now. But really, really important, just think about what you're thinking about. Just like try to capture. We have 50 to 80,000 thoughts in a day. That's the average person has 50 to 80,000 thoughts in a day. And actually most of them are the same thoughts. So, and then the next day we're gonna have 95% of the same thoughts as we had the previous day. So the really easy way to start cleaning this up is just start really thinking about what you're thinking. Like, am I being hypercritical of myself, or am I like actually just being constructive and observing how these things that have happened in a pattern, and maybe I need to change my behavior, or change my thoughts, or my words, or my actions a little bit. It's always up to you. Any single moment in time, especially in the spiritual world, you are allowed to be a whole new person. You can be a new person at any moment in time. So, with the physical world, we have to work for it. You want to get stronger, and you go to the gym, and it might take you 6 weeks, it might take 6 months, it may take you a year to get you where your goals are. But in the spiritual realm, there is nothing preventing us from changing like that. There really is nothing preventing us from changing to who we want to be. So really looking at what those thoughts are that are going in your head, and seeing, are these thoughts actually building me up? Is this am I actually looking at this stuff in a constructive way, or am I actually hurting myself? And whatever you're doing there, I promise you, is going to show up in your relationships. It's going to show up with every single other interaction you have with other people, because if you're feeling bad about yourself, anything anybody says it's probably going to make you feel bad, unless you have that unique relationship, that one person that always makes you feel good when you hang out with them, because they have a way of being that resonates and actually changes your vibe for the time and maybe for a little bit afterwards. But it's up to us to really, really be like completely present with what's going on with ourselves, and then we can actually show up for other people effectively. So we have to be a little bit selfish. We have to be actually extremely selfish in taking care of ourselves and our bodies, our minds, our hearts, our souls, if we want to be able to show up in the world for other people. So that's my little piece today. Hey JR, cool, I'm glad you guys are going up to the team finals. It's going to be a great event. I really appreciate you guys supporting us on that. I had some more comments. Oh, there we go. Just let me scroll. Yeah, Alex, great idea. The 5 positive affirmations each day when you wake up, when you go to sleep. Actually, what that does is it kind of sets your brain in a motion to think about that. Because tell me if I'm wrong, Alex, but I know when I do affirmations, you know, I'll do the 5 or 10 or whatever it is in the morning, and 3 might be whatever I'm working on then. And I'll do it before I go to sleep. And after a few days of doing that, I find that I'm thinking them throughout the day. And when you start thinking about them throughout the day, that's when like the real change seems to really happen. So that's a great point, Alex. You know, and for those of you that don't know what a positive affirmation is, you might have some area that you're beating yourself up, like saying that I'm not good with other people, right? That's something that actually I've said to myself for a long time. And part of what got me through that was actually researching some techniques on how to become more communicative and connect better with people. And with those techniques, I was able to create some really good affirmations and just telling myself like that people really want to hear what I have to say. So when I started doing that in the morning and in the evenings, then all of a sudden it started happening all the time. And now I do Facebook Lives, and like, I don't really care like if what your opinion is of me, but I do believe constantly that people get value out of what I'm talking about here and the way I'm behaving, and that's my way of giving back, because it's such a better way to live, and so many people are stuck in a different way, and I've been there. So that's all I got for you. Please share this. Please tell your friends about Evolved Life, and if you're a dude, guys, I just started the Evolved Men Facebook group, and we're gonna have some like really intimate, deep conversations about what it means to be a man in today's society, because you can't talk about that stuff in the public now because everybody's so PC, and this feminist movement has gotten so insane, and it's just so difficult to actually have a conversation around what's really going on with us. And before this even happened, it was where men already weren't allowed to have emotions. Like, women are tough because they're not allowed to show their emotions, right? We beat them up like, why are you crying? What's wrong with you? And we get all pissed off as men. And that's because we are not even allowed to have our emotions. And that's what we were taught. And actually our emotions are our key to like actually figuring a lot of stuff out for ourselves. And if we don't fix those emotions and what's going on with us and express our emotions and have a group around us, then what ends up happening is we end up not even being able to be showing up for our spouses and our partners. So Jane, absolutely. So you know, my mom cut the grass when I was growing up, actually, so that's not actually necessarily a new thing in today's society. But you know, you should do what you feel like you want to do, and shouldn't be like, oh, I have to do this because I don't have a man. Like, you're capable. When the nice thing is now, men and women can, for the most part, accept that the genders are equal. They're not the same. We have to agree they're not the same. Like, we are not the same. So if you think we're the same, and that's what makes us equal, then we're gonna have a tough time connecting. But if you think that, you know, we are equal but we're not the same, we have different things that we can bring to the space energetically and physically, then we got a really good baseline to start on. We can actually start seeing each other for who we are. But men, we got to clean up our shit. So Jane, for you and any other women watching this, single or in a relationship, I highly, highly, highly recommend you check out my wife's Facebook group, which is Modern Femininity with a black heart. It says be irresistible to him. It's a private group for women only, so they can like pour their hearts out and talk about these things. And my wife's been talking about some deep stuff, and I'm so glad to see her doing it because it's actually improving our relationship a ton, her relationship with herself. So there's a ton of resources out there for women, but I know Gabby's work, and I see how it shifted her. So, and I've seen how it shifted for other people, and she's got clients that have graduated that don't even need her classes or her coaching anymore because they've actually used it, implemented it, and are in like a great place in their relationship, like headed to marriage zone. So that is that. So that's Modern Femininity, Be Irresistible to Him, and she has a page. And then also The Evolved Man, guys, check it out. So Jane, I got you. I think that's a great question to ask Gabby. I think she'll have really, really good energy around that, and she could speak from a woman's perspective. I could tell you what I think, but honestly, I think Gabby's going to give you something that's going to really connect with you and be able to get to the heart of what you're looking at. Or if you really want me to do it, shoot me a message specifically with whatever your questions are, and I will do a Facebook Live just on that topic if it's in my realm of expertise. I don't want to tell you things I don't know. So if it's not in the realm of expertise, then maybe I'll do an interview with somebody and talk about the topic. I got some really good content for you guys coming up. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. You have a great day, and just be happy. That's all you got to do. It's your choice. So what do you choose? If you choose to be happy, please comment it. I choose to be happy. So yeah, Jane, I'll put it in the comments here in a little bit. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. Cheers.